Nice.
So I'm just opening my Goodreads because I'm definitely not on the same kind of reading track as I was last year, but I have read a few books. Where's my reading challenge? It's a bit slow to open. I've read 8 books.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is more than most people read in a decade, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, so I've, I listened to a book and I read a book at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because the book I was listening to, which is called Human Diversity by Charles Murray.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, he mentioned a book, and I thought, well, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Um, so that I got the PDF and I read that at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, human diversity, I'll just quickly give you the one page summary. It explores the intersection of biology, genetics, and social science to discuss how genetic differences among individuals and groups can influence various human traits and societal outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just imagine that this is going to be criticized. And Charles Murray is not unfamiliar with being criticized because in the mid 1990s, he and I forget who his co-author was, wrote a book called The Bell Curve. I think it was The Bell Curve, which kind of also looks at um, you know kind of the differences between population groups, etc. But I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just dealing with facts. So obviously, that doesn't sit well with some of the
Outliers.
uh, well, some of the, let's say, the more woke inclined, the people who also believe that men can be women and women can be men, um, etc. So, why was that interesting to me? I mean, it genetics and the influence of genetics is something that interests me. Intelligence or IQ, something that interests that interests me, and then personality. I'm kind of looking at it from those three angles. I'm trying to plot. Okay, cool. What are the you know how do these things determine who we are, and how much of, how much influence do we as individuals have over these things?
Yeah.
So, so for example, um, so look, I'll just quickly run through some of the high level things that that human diversity, the book, looked at and discussed. Um, Talks about the genetic differences that there are. Discusses how differences manifest in intelligence, personality, and physical abilities across genders, races, and social classes. Because the concept of
Mm-hmm.
social classes as well, has quite a big influence on
Yeah.
kind of who we turn out to be. Um, Talk about gender differences, um, which kind of sounds so obvious, um, but kind of like exploring how the differences contribute to occupational choices and societal roles.
Yeah.
There is something that I've heard Jordan Peterson also speak of. If you think about um, some of the choices that women make when it comes to career and things like that, you know. They are the nurturers. That is just the
Yeah.
fact. And there's also a personality component. That is why you'll get um, on the big five traits, women are generally more agreeable than men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Jordan Peterson explains that obviously very well in terms of why that is. You know, because if you have an infant, you have a little baby that every time it makes a noise or whatever needs attention, and need somebody to kind of take care of and figure out, okay, cool, why is this person unhappy? It is better to make that the job of somebody who is more agreeable than somebody who is not. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously the hot topic, things like race and ethnicity. Um, uh, you know, I definitely can't say that there was anything in the book that I felt was um, either trying to um, place one race or ethnic group below another, etc. In fact, the opposite, you know, in terms of, hey, listen, you know, when you allow for X, Y, and Z, you know, it's kind of like, no, there's no meaningful difference in terms of um,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of things which people may construe as, oh, you know, here's somebody who's going to say, well, this race or that ethnic group or whatever is better, and so on. Social class and cognitive stratification. It's kind of like an interesting term used here.
I was going to
Um,
say, what is cognitive stratification?
so it says here the book delves into the concept of cognitive stratification, where Murray argues that intelligence, largely influenced by genetics, plays a significant role in determining social class. The He posits that societies are increasingly sorting people based on cognitive ability, leading to a stratified society where the cognitive elite are separated from those with lower cognitive abilities.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, I'm not 100% sure whether I agree with. No, I am. I don't think I agree with the statement that societies are starting to sort people based on cognitive ability. I think it's a natural thing that happens.
Hmm.
And I also don't think that it is very different from any time in history. Um,
I'm trying to find an example of that. I'm just thinking the first thought that I jumped to was in like a school level. I'm pretty sure that they separated people in terms of their learning abilities and intelligence in
it would,
specific classes and yeah,
yes, used to
yeah.
yes, not allowed to do that anymore.
Okay.
Um,
They
it's kind
probably
of
still do it,
interesting.
just not as obviously.
No, no, can't do it. Can't do it. So
Yeah.
what they've been doing for the last, I don't know how long, probably about 3 to 4 decades, and this is also kind of like a worldwide phenomenon, almost worldwide phenomenon. I mean, there are a few outliers, but they have um, been lowering the standards, the passing, you know, the grade required. Um, they have generally been lowering that to create more equal outcome in terms of education. And that I think you're really starting to see the implications of that around the world. Um, and then obviously nature versus nurture is kind of touched. And in the IQ, the intelligence book that I read, you know, kind of make reference to some of the more famous studies that have been done in terms of twins, you know, twin studies, where you can, you know, um, study that really proves that genetics plays a much bigger role than any other factor. where you take
Hmm.
identical twins that were separated at birth, and then you test them later on in life, and it
Mm.
is you can't distinguish which one of the two. So shows that genetics plays a hell of a lot of more important. Um, so obviously, environmental factors and personal experiences do play a role in, but it can't really increase your ability that much.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, obviously some of the things that the book is criticized for is, you know, it touches on the sensitive subject. And what I find quite interesting, and one of the things that made me want to listen to the book was exactly that fact that intelligence has become something that is viewed as a sensitive subject.
Hmm.
Whereas I think that there's so much that um, can be learned from that. There's so much that we still don't know yet. Um, and in fact, some of my theories were kind of were um, in the intelligence book. Some of these theories that I have were obviously discussed, and it is true that there's a hell of a lot that we don't know yet.
Hmm.
And especially for the last, I don't know, maybe I can't remember exact timelines that he mentioned, but at least the last decade, maybe even more, last 2 decades, there's been very little research that has been done on intelligence. Because first of all, people, their careers may be influenced by the research that they do, finding the grants or the funding to do proper research is hard to come by because funders don't want to get anywhere near this,
Yeah.
um, which is really, really sad. And I think the human race is worse off for that. So, couple of facts about intelligence. And the book that I read is called Intelligence, All That Matters, and it was written by Stewart Ritchie. Couple of facts. IQ can be measured. IQ can be measured from relative early age. I think from about the age of 2, there are
Yeah.
certain. Okay. Um, IQ matters in life on a number of people with higher IQs live longer, they're healthier, they have generally higher incomes, um, they are happier. Okay. So you can think for yourself that things like longevity, why would they live longer? Why would they have, live healthier lives, etc., etc.? Because they make better decisions. Why do they earn more? Well, because they probably study more, um,
Yeah.
apply themselves a hell of a lot more, etc. Um, it is an absolute fact that there are um, differences in brains and genes. Okay. Um, so, for example, there are higher variances in IQ in men than there are in women. So, in other words, you get more men that kind of sit on the either end of the scale,
Yeah.
whereas women are slightly narrower on that
Okay.
scale. So you get smarter and um,
Not as smart.
not as smart. There are also
Can an IQ change? You didn't mention that as a fact. Like if you're recorded at whatever IQ, are you able to improve that score with
marginally,
training? Okay.
marginally, not with training. So it is something that is discussed in length in the book, because obviously there are lots of products out there of how to improve your IQ, etc. One of the studies that he mentioned in the book was, people said that if you listen to Mozart, okay, and then they ran a test or whatever, um, but long term, lots of different studies, no, can't do it. Up to the age of about 25, it increases. You can think yourself, in terms of, well, we develop until the age of about 18, 20, you know, that is the time that you spend in school. The number of years that you spend in school has a direct impact. Okay. Now, I'm also sure that it depends on whether you apply yourself or not. You can go to
Yeah.
school for 20 years and don't do anything and still not be able to read or write. The fact that but there was a very interesting study, because there was somewhere, if I remember correctly, around the 1970s, somewhere, where Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries, I'm pretty sure it was Norway, where they changed the mandatory number of school years from 10 to 12.
Hmm.
And they also didn't implement it in one go for the entire country, they staggered it. And these researchers then, okay, cool, here's a cohort that only had 10 years of schooling, and then we had a cohort of 12 years. And the extra 2 years of schooling made a significant difference.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, as we have more access to tools and information, etc., and so on, generally over time, IQs have gone up, which in itself, I don't know. I have questions about that, which I,
Mm.
I didn't get the answers to in the. So if
You'd think it would
IQs,
be the opposite effect.
yes,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. It's not what I see around me in the world today.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the people that we see and how they react and how they behave, etc. They don't look one bit smarter than people in from 100 years ago.
Hmm.
Okay, so so I don't know, but that's just like how I perceive that. Um, Massive, massive, massive influence, and an undisputed fact is the fact that IQ is heritable. Okay,
What does that mean?
that means that the genes that you are blessed with. So if your parents are less intelligent,
Hmm.
chances are not that much that you are going to be
Yeah.
um, very gifted.
There are
Then,
definitely many exceptions with two very intelligent parents
uh,
and a not very intelligent child, or the other way around.
so true, as with anything, there
Yeah.
are exceptions. I think what we don't know is where you have two intelligent parents and a not so intelligent child, whether the child is actually not intelligent, or the child uh, personality, in other words, the child doesn't apply him or herself, all sorts of other influences. And that's where I
Hmm.
think things like peer pressure, environment, and that sort of thing, because you often see that as well. You
Yeah.
often see that, with generational wealth. What is it? You know, 2, 3 generations, but by the third generation, kind of screw it up completely, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily because of IQ. Um, what I found interesting was kind of like the the things that contribute to a successful life. So IQ, personality, you can't separate the two. Obviously, effort and motivation. So you can be really smart, you can have the IQ, you can have the personality, but if you don't put in the effort and you don't have any motivation, then you're not necessarily going to be successful.
Hmm.
Um, and the combination of those things. Oh, and the other thing, really important, luck. There's a, I mean, luck plays um, an important role, and I think that
Or
we
even
all
from before birth. I mean, the lack of which
correct.
parents you're born to,
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah.
Um, so what is most important? Oh, wait. One of the things that is also made clear in the book is that the theory of multiple intelligences is there's no scientific proof of that. So you may have heard of I don't know, there was Gardner. There's an American psychologist called Gardner. Around about the 1980s, he came up with this theory that there are multiple types of intelligence.
Hmm.
And obviously, everyone latched onto that, you know. So, oh, you're just
Is
not
that
book
like book
smart.
smart? Okay.
Yes, you're not book smart, you know, but
Yeah.
um, you and whatever. So initially there were seven, and I can't even um, tell you what they are. But he later on extended it to nine different types of intelligence. But there's absolutely no scientific um, proof um, that that is the the truth. General intelligence. I mean, just think for yourself. It kind of seems like logic that you you cannot just be have high intelligence in art and not in mathematics
Mm.
or verbal or so I'm not saying that there aren't people who score better in because what is an IQ test? An IQ test is a random set of questions. Um, different types of there are mathematical questions in there. There's like
Mm.
verbal, there's like general knowledge, and there's like spatial orientation questions or something like that. That's kind of what constitutes an IQ test. Um, there are differences between men and women. Women are generally, I think, score better in the verbal section of the test, and men generally in the score better in the spatial.
Hmm.
Again, you know, this is now over so many, and there will be lots and lots of um,
Exceptions.
exceptions to that
Yeah.
rule as well. Anyway, so why I was really interested in this thing about the multiple intelligences. Initially, I thought that is this where EQ falls in? Because I do have my doubts about EQ as well, but it's not. It's so EQ is not related to Gardner's theories and the multiple intelligences. I still feel like I want to call bullshit on EQ because I think without knowing and understanding your personality and knowing exactly what to work on,
Hmm.
Trying to improve somebody's EQ with a 2-day workshop is absolutely useless. Anyway, um, what else is there? Yeah, I mean, I touched on the fact that why is intelligence research kind of getting the bad rap? It's because of all the isms, racism and sexism and you know all of these things. Um, and then there's the the socialism slash communism part of it, which really advocates for equal outcomes. And we see that agenda being pushed a hell of a lot
Hmm.
today. And then obviously, politics is the other thing. You can't separate socialism and politics. Um, One sentence that really stood out for me in the book is he says that facts don't have moral values attached. So, this is not about kind of like one group is better than the other, smarter than the other, etc., and however you want to define that group. But what we can gain by looking at this in a hell of a lot more detail, and especially now that we've got tools like AI, and this is not the authors, this is just me thinking afterwards. We've got so much to learn and understand about the genetics component of intelligence. And now that we have AI that can help us make a hell of a lot more sense about DNA and genes, etc., etc. It seems to me like we would be really stupid um, if we don't dedicate a lot of resources to this, to
Yeah.
look at how we can improve lives. What does it take to improve lives? And kind of get over ourselves in terms of this thing about, everybody has the ability to be a rocket scientist.
Well,
And
where does
instinctively, we know that's not true.
where does artificial intelligence fit into this? You mentioned AI, and I mean, can you compensate low IQ with AI?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. To an extent, maybe. Um, I feel like that's one of the problems that we are looking to address in future is if lots of jobs that kind of provide an income today, if those jobs will be better done by machines, by AI, what do we do with those people? How do we compensate them and that sort of thing? But that's a different thing to, how does, so AI is not going to make anybody smarter, in my opinion. It's not going to improve your IQ. So it may make you smarter. I must maybe just get the terminology right.
Yeah.
But, somebody has a very low IQ, then I don't think AI will, I don't know, I'm speculating. But it doesn't make sense that AI will just be able to make you to improve or increase your IQ.
Will AI be able to vote for the correct leaders for us?
I don't think so.
If you put all of the intelligence of the top IQ people in the world into a machine.
So the problem with AI is AI is just a machine that is trained. So
Yeah.
I, I personally, I don't think, and I'm not qualified at all to kind of make this statement, but don't think we are close to artificial general intelligence in terms of where these
Yeah.
machines can start really make. I don't know. I may be way off with this, but as long as we have people who train and set the parameters for these machines, we're not going to be able to allow them to do things like pick leaders,
Elect a leader. Yeah. Suppose you could say
which
that
is,
that's based on how they're trained. They are both the lowest IQ beings and the highest IQ beings in the world, depending on
yeah.
the information that they consume.
So the flip side of that is will any of these AIs, given that they are trained properly and allowed to make an objective decision, I think they will do better than humans because humans are just, emotional about this, etc., etc. Is one or two things that I just quickly want to mention as well. Um, and this is actually from a podcast that Jordan Peterson was on, where he talked about these things, where he talked about personality and he talked about IQ. Um, so really important to remember that having a higher IQ doesn't mean that you have a high moral values or better moral
Mhm.
values. So there's no correlation between the two. Okay. Also sounds logical if you think a little bit about it. So it's not like all the dictators and the great serial killers, etc., have low IQs. No, not okay. Also, it doesn't mean that all the geniuses have of the proper moral compass.
Mhm.
Um, this is the most obvious thing, but nutrition and exercise is extremely important in maximizing your mental capacity. In other words, using the few IQ points that I was bestowed with. And obviously, as you go up in age, that becomes more important. And I think that there are quite a few other factors which are starting to play, which is very much related to nutrition and exercise, but exactly the type of nutrition. So you can't just stick to the normal American standard diet. Um, that's actually very bad for you. And then the last thing here is this is the combination of IQ and conscientiousness as a personality trait. Um, those two things combined is the best indicator for success in life. So people um, who score low in conscientiousness and score low in general intelligence, or um, not a big chance of making it big. So um, very interesting. So what did I learn from all of this? Uh, you must be familiar with the concept of skill stacking. In other words, you know, don't just focus and learn one thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of like what school is supposed to do for us.
Hmm.
A little bit of history, a little bit of geography, a little bit of maths, a little bit of English, etc. So these are all different skills, but then we get into the workplace and we generally kind of like put the blinkers on and we focus in a specific. Um, skill stacking is about adding more skills, in other words, more tools to your toolbox, that sort of thing. So I'm not saying go and get 5 different degrees, but learn and understand another skill. and another skill,
Yeah.
and then kind of these things cross pollinate and kind of add a lot of value in many ways. And if you do encounter a major event in life, etc., then those additional skills um, will most likely contribute to you kind of finding your feet again and kind of being able to continue with it. Um, and I think that's such an important thing. We live in a world where um, it is we are so used to and accustomed to um, just getting somebody to fix whatever is broken.
Hmm.
So most of us can hardly change a light bulb, let alone service an
Yeah.
appliance or figure
Yeah.
out what went wrong with an appliance. But so basic plumbing skills, basic electrician skills. You think about things like I don't know, um, doing paving. Sounds like you know silly little thing. Grow vegetables.
Yeah.
Just the actual act of planting seeds and kind of taking care of that until it is planted. So these are all different skills. Um, you can obviously take that up to a level where you kind of say, well, if I'm a if I'm a developer, maybe it is important for me to also understand design concepts, etc.
Hmm.
If I'm in um marketing, then it may also be very good for me to understand, I don't know, whatever, you know, psychology, some such interrelated, and you would think. Anyway, so that's just the concept of skill stacking, which I think is really important for people to consider.
Very interesting. Do you want to let anyone know any of the skills that you are stacking? Because I'm sure you've thought about it as you've been doing this.
Not really. Um, I'm still
If I
trying
put you on the
to.
spot.
I'm still trying to learn to do my job properly before I get fired. No, I in one of the businesses that I'm involved in, it's just kind of like it's taken me a little bit out of my comfort zone in terms of, well, here are skills now. Um, so learning to understand um, technology behind golf simulators, um, what the different numbers mean that are measured, etc., etc. So that's something, understanding club fitting and all the different um, elements that go into that. That is something that over the last 6 months or so, I've acquired a bit of skills. I'm not there where I can comfortably advise or build a club yet. But let's say I'm an apprentice when it
Okay.
comes to club fitting, and I really enjoy that. Learning and understanding all these different concepts. Um, I've been skill stacking about marketing for years now, and I feel like I'm not, I haven't improved one bit. But that is another area which obviously is of interest to me. Anyway,
Cool. I think we'll have to revisit this and talk about it. There's a few topics that I've had on my mind that we
definitely.
need to revisit as well. But thank you for sharing this with us, Herman. I'm gonna go back and look at my Jordan Peterson results and see how low my intelligence and conscientiousness were,
No, no, no.
and
Your
then cry in
intelligence
the
is
corner.
definitely your intelligence is definitely not measured there. So anyway, thanks,
Thanks,
Ali.
Herman.